Hey, how's it going, guys? And thanks for clicking on my video. Look, if you're here, then you're probably like me and you want to be ready for when DMZ is fully released with Modern Warfare 4. See, I don't know about you, but I'm sick of all the use these settings and use these attachments to become OP videos. So instead, I want to talk about 7 things we can actually start doing right now to prepare ourselves. But before I get into it, for those who are unaware, DMZ is getting a full release as a mode with Modern Warfare 4 on the 23rd of October, which for those of us in Australia generally means the 24th. But one thing to point out, if you pre-order, you get early access from August 21st to August 25th, which will likely work out the 22nd to the 26th for those of us in Australia, and the open beta is August 28th to September 1st, which of course for us in Australia works out to 29th to the 2nd. Now, I don't want to spend launch week relearning the game and improving on habits that I could practice right now, and I imagine you feel the same. Because to me, being good at Warzone just doesn't automatically mean that you're ready for the DMZ. Of course your aim matters, but DMZ also tests your decision making, your inventory management, your teamwork, and your ability to stay calm. To me, Warzone's more about being the last one alive, where the general idea of DMZ is to get in, work with your squad, get some high value loot, and get out. So let's get down to it, and I know not every tip will apply to you, but there should hopefully be at least one thing in here for you. Starting with tip number 1. Play the DMZ beta again right now. Look, while Warzone's going to keep your gun skills sharp, DMZ just overall has a different rhythm. It's a slow-paced game where it's Call of Duty, let's be real. Of course your accuracy matters, but so can restraint. You've also got lethal bots that can beam you if you're not careful, and there's also missions that can require a really intricate sequence that you need to follow to complete them. Now look, in saying that, I'm not saying it's about moving at a turtle's pace, more that it's about moving or engaging with purpose. Sometimes you should just slow your roll, gather some information about a squad before you engage them, and other times you might want to avoid that combat entirely while you focus on your missions. Which is a great segue into my next point. The average player will likely have finished most, if not all of their upgrades and missions, which is totally fine. You can instead just go in and create your own mission, like maybe start with a fresh operator that has absolutely nothing, and give yourself the goal of extracting with a 3-plate, a self-revive, and a kill streak. Or maybe try to extract with a high tier piece of loot, such as a weapons case. Now look, keep in mind, your mission just doesn't have to be physically tangible. You could get a handful of operator kills if you really want, or enter with nothing and slowly gear up to take down another operator. The point here is that the mission itself isn't the exact focus. It's more just the idea of giving yourself a mission that is similar to what we know is already in DMZ and working toward that. This will help you get back in the mindset of DMZ and focus maybe less on kills like in Warzone and more about your coordination and what you extract with instead. You should use the DMZ beta to rebuild your good habits and unlearn any bad ones you have before the launch. Now, tip number 2. Stop hoarding your contraband. Look, I was absolutely terrible for this. My contraband stash has been full since the last update, and I just outright refused to use any of the RGLs because I kept saving them for a rainy day. And guess what? That rainy day never came, so those RGLs just sat there gathering virtual cobwebs. I think we can safely say that contraband is not going to carry over, and leaving it in your stash is not going to give you any kind of benefit on release. So I recommend you to start using them now, especially when your insureds are on a timer. Now look, they might not have your preferred attachments, but I also think that's why they're useful, because you won't always have your favorite gun, especially seeing as we start fresh in 2 months and your favorite gun might not unlock until those much higher levels. This is going to allow you to just use the next 2 months as practice instead. And the best part to me of contraband is that it can be really interesting to use, because while most people use all the same attachments recommended by all the big streamers, you get the type of player like myself where we just use the attachments we like. An example of this is that I always use the Corona Mini Pro Blue Dot on all of my guns, and that's if I didn't want to use an ACOG or something. There are just heaps of players out there who have their attachments that they like and they don't care what's the meta. And I think that could be really interesting because you might even grow to like some of these attachments you just thought you'd never try. And taking a contraband also means you don't spend the first few minutes of the match getting a gun from a bot and using what money you get giving it attachments. Like I'll always go straight for a suppressor. This will just drastically change the start of your match from finding a gun and putting attachments on it to focusing straight away on your mission or advancing to your desired location. And look, if you extract, great. But if not, and you go down, at least it helps you practice instead of just sitting there to eventually get lost to the nether for nothing. Tip number 3, controlling bot engagements. So how many times have you been sneaking past a group of bots and then suddenly one of them 180 no-scopes you for 2 plates and his nearby buddy just about one taps you and nearly downs you? And the cherry on top, they've just alerted a nearby squad to your presence and now they're coming to say g'day too. The mistake at this point is feeling like you need to clear all of the bots that engage you, when most of the time, you don't. You just focus on the ones that are slowing you down or threatening to down you, and once you create that opening, you move on before the situation gets out of hand. Once you leave their line of sight, they generally lose interest, and before long, they're going to leave you alone. Because if you stick around, there'll be a helicopter that drops off more bots, and that's just in the beta. Right now, I always think of bots more like an alarm system. Even if your weapon is suppressed, their guns aren't. So the longer you stay means the more noise they make and resources you waste, which alerts other players and eventually brings in another bot helicopter to reinforce them, just wasting more time and resources. It's best to just deal with the immediate threat and keep moving. Now this is going to be changing in the full release, and there's a section on the website that does talk about how bots are going to work from now on. I'll put that up on the screen now for you. The summary is that escalating threat levels trigger stronger enemy responses, increasingly dangerous reinforcements, and elite forces sent to hunt players down. They do go into more detail, but in essence, it sounds like as you're dispatching bots, they'll bring in heavier bots to engage you. Maybe think of something like Building 21. And if you actively hunt players, it sounds like not only will you get a player bounty, but there's also a chance that they're going to be bots that hunt you as well. In the end, when it comes to bots, I just feel like it's good practice to only dispatch what you need to and then just move on. Because otherwise they're going to begin alerting everyone nearby that something's going on and nobody's got time for that. Tip number 4. Now don't shoot me for this, but practice your survival, not just your kills. Like, don't get me wrong, PvP is the best part of DMZ, but there is a difference between taking a strong fight and just chasing a squad like a rabid dog because you've spotted them. And believe me, I've done both. Now, before committing, I think you should ask yourself, what can I gain from this? What's my advantage? And how do I leave if this goes south? Let's say you hit another player and their plates are blue. Is it really going to be worthwhile to you? Like, which I will say on a side note, I hope they change this, as I don't feel like we should get this kind of information for shooting someone, but that's not really the point here. I just think that chasing squads isn't always worth it, especially if your mission's complete, your backpack's full, and you've got everything to lose. But in saying that, if a team's blocking your objective or threatening your extraction, that's a fight that might be necessary, and you should always be prepared for that too. Like personally, I use a spotter scope to be prepared for such outcomes, to check squad numbers, positioning, because sometimes the smartest decisions is to just rotate, wait, or let the squad move on rather than engaging them. There's been plenty of times where I've engaged someone for the sole love of PvP and not paid any real attention to my surroundings while I'm stupidly chasing them and being caught between bots or another squad just to die for nothing. Or I've expended so many resources that by the time I did take them down, I've made so much noise and another squad's just shown up, said hello, and proceeded to butter our muffins. Now look, of course this can lead to some really funny interactions, but a kill that gets your squad eliminated not even 5 seconds later just ultimately might not be worth it, unless your objective at that point is to upset another team and have a giggle about it. And now tip number 5, improving your looting decisions. Like, we all know that your backpack isn't a trophy cabinet, so every slot ideally should have a purpose. You should be deciding which survival items are essential to you. Like for me, it's pretty much always plates and self-revives that come before most everything else. Collectibles are nice and all to be able to finish your upgrades, but not if they come at the expense of you living or extracting. And one way to do this is before entering a match, just note down like 1 or 2 collectibles that you need for your current upgrade or mission that you're trying to complete, and try not to pick any others up. I say this from experience, as I've gone in and I've tried to do it by memory, and I've picked up collectibles thinking I needed them, only to realize I'd either picked up the wrong one, I've already completed the upgrade, or I hadn't even unlocked it yet. Now, this doesn't mean you should be ignoring mission items, of course, it just means understanding what you're sacrificing to carry this stuff. Like, I've dropped plates for a rare collectible before, and then I've died because I've run out of plates when I really needed it, when I should have just dropped that kill streak that I didn't really need, but I just wanted to keep. Just prioritize your survival first, your objectives second, and then your optional valuables last. Tip number 6. Practice solo and squad play. Like if you normally only play one way, try practicing the other as well. Because there's nothing wrong with preferring to play one way, but I think there's genuine merit in playing both solos and squads, and I feel like by the end of this, you're going to agree with me. Because the game is incredibly different from when you play solo or in a squad. Like, I notice when playing solo, I have to be so much more careful. Especially now, because there are squads out there exclusively wanting to hunt players. And if they see you, they don't care that you're a solo. They're just going to gun you down without a second thought and move on. But players aren't your only concern. Bots can be just as dangerous, and when you're on your own, there's no one to back up a poor rotation or to pick you up if you get down. In saying that, playing in a squad is unbelievably faster. You've always got at least 2 extra guns to back you up in a fight, and that makes a world of difference. Also, squads are generally less likely to engage you unless their advantage is clear, and as it is, the bots just don't remain a concern at that point. But there are potential problems to these styles of gameplay too. Like I found that I pretty much only ever played with mates, so I would sometimes rotate without really thinking about what I was doing, or I'd just rush into a fight when I only had a single plate, and the next thing I know I'm on my ass, and they're having to risk themselves to come and pick me up. But with that in mind, when I practiced solo, I found that gung-ho attitude did kind of stick with me a bit, and I was constantly rotating poorly and taking fights I wasn't prepared for, and then I was still on my ass anyway. The core takeaway here is that good squad play means sharing information, covering each other's rotations, and staying close enough to help each other. But good solo play is thinking ahead to ensure your rotations are solid, you don't get overwhelmed by enemies, and you have the necessary supplies to keep yourself alive. I think that solo play teaches accountability and preparedness, and squad play kind of teaches more coordination and communication. And I think all of those things are equally important. And finally, tip number 7. Stop fearing gear loss, because losing a fully equipped operator is just not the end of the world. I get it. Losing your insured gun, your good gear, your kill streaks, and your mission items, it always hurts. But becoming too attached to that gear can stop you from truly enjoying the game. Like, I had 5 operators, each with like a large or a secure backpack, one of the 3 upgraded vests, whether it was a stealth medic or a comms, self-revive on each, kill streaks, you name it, and they were just sitting there doing nothing. But in the spirit of good practice and who gives a fuck, I went into my first deployment in over a year and just died to bots. Because gear fear makes you scared to lose your favorite weapons, to risk entering dangerous areas, and you become frustrated when a deployment goes south. But the loot will always come back. It just always does. Like, I remember a video where a player said, "Oh well, it's just someone else's turn with the loot." And I think that's a lesson that we can all learn. Like, I remember when Ashika first released, and like everyone else, I was searching for all the different collectibles required for upgrades or the weapons case. And there were a few times I nearly extracted with some of that stuff, but I was gunned down at the last second. But ultimately, it just didn't matter, because a week later, I managed to find half of those things and extract with them anyway. Now, it doesn't mean you should play carelessly and lose your items all willy-nilly. It just means remembering that loss is a part of the extraction experience, and you shouldn't work yourself up when it happens. It's just someone else's turn with the loot, and your turn is going to come around soon. Instead, I think when you die, just think about something you feel like you could improve on from that last deployment, go again, rebuild your gear. You don't want to let that squad beat you twice by taking your gear, and again by ruining your fun in the DMZ. Now, with all that said and done, those are the 7 habits that I want to work on before the full release of DMZ. So please let me know which habit you plan to work on in the comments, and what you think maybe should have made the list instead. And finally, I feel silly for saying this, but please don't feel the need to subscribe or anything like that. But just know that if you do, it'll mean the world to me, because it means you're supporting me in the beginning of this new journey. So until Modern Warfare 4, maybe I'll see you in the beta. Snake Fist out.